Today we're going to look at the Chinese Made Easy Level 1, Lesson 1 from the Chinese series that we use here at Totino Grace High School. So follow along as we go through this PowerPoint. This PowerPoint is on the Google site for this class. They introduced the lesson with the title 第一课, which just means first lesson. And then the title of the lesson is 是不是是100, which means 10 tens are 100. They introduced the Hanzi with pronunciation. The Hanzi would be the characters, and the pronunciation is called pinyin. It is somewhat like English, but not always. Some of the consonants and vowels are pronounced differently than how they appear. So here we are with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 to 6. There is a recording for this on the Google Classroom site. They will go through the vocabulary, the poems and the stories and the conversations with native speakers for every lesson, and those have been uploaded on the Google Classroom site for Chinese 1 for Totino Grace High School. They follow with 7, 8, 9, 10. So here we complete the numbers 1 to 10. Note they also have the hand gestures that are used by the Chinese for these numbers. They go on to give you more vocabulary. Bai is 100, yi bai is 100, qian is 1,000, and yi qian is how to say 8,000 or 1,000. Wan is 10,000, and yi huan is again 10,000. This is the verb to be, 是, and 是 has 3 components here. We'll go over this in detail on another video. In this video, we're just going to go through the PowerPoint. So at the top of 是 is the sun. That's that square with a line through it, or rectangle with a line through it. And then there's a line in this piece, and that means below. And finally, there's a man running around. So a man running around below the sun is how they picture to be. This verb, 是, to be, is good for first, second, third person, singular, plural, past, present, future. So you pretty much have the whole verb to be in this character. That's all you need. In terms of whether it's past or present, 他是 would be he is, he was, he will be. They put other things in the sentence, the context, to indicate the tense, but they don't actually change this verb. It's just 他是, he is, was, will be. 你是, you are, you were, you will be. 我是, I am, I was, I will be. So there's not a whole lot of grammar in Chinese. The Chinese like it like that. In this slide, they're showing you another component in a sentence. It's ge. And again, there's not a lot of grammar in the Chinese language, but they do have something called a measure word that comes when you're stating the number of something. It comes after a number. So 10 个是, 10 tens, and then 是 1百. So 10 tens are 100 here. Here again, they're reviewing the numbers that we just went over and giving you an exercise of matching hand signals with hand gestures with numbers, and matching the Hanzi with the hand signals. Here they're talking about tonal changes, 1千, and how that comes out when you state things together. The tones are a little bit different It's easiest to learn the tones as intonation and as you go along. So in the first lesson, we're not really focusing on tones. As you hear the words pronounced enough, you will know how those tones work, and in sentences and in context too, with the changes. Here's a poem that is also in your book, and it is recorded with an audio recording. You can listen to this and practice your pronunciation using that recording. Here's an exercise of figuring out what the numbers are from our Roman numerals to the Chinese Hanzi. And here again is a poem, this time now without the pinyin, the pronunciation, or the English, so you can practice reading this. It's a good practice in reading, also with the recording in pronunciation. Now they're talking about stroke order and how to write the stroke. So when you write Chinese, here you go from left to right and top to bottom, and you usually start out with what goes across first and then down. So with sh, you'd go across and down. With san, you'd start at the top and do 1, 2, 3, like that. With combinations, down, and here again, across and down. So it's showing how to put these strokes together in the right order. Why is order important? Well, because it makes a difference in how the character looks once you get it written. So stroke order is important, and we do emphasize that from the get-go. And so these little numbers here on this character are showing you down, over and across, and then go to the inside, and we do the close the enclosure last. So they're showing you with those little red numbers the stroke order in writing that character. Here are some nuances with numbers. Now, Ling is 0. It's kind of a complicated character. The Chinese today will just use, even with the Hanzi, they'll just use a 0 and maybe put a diagonal slash through it to show it's not the letter O. For 105, they say the 105, they say the 0. So Yi Bai Ling Wu is how you would say that. And before Bai, Qian, and Wan, they put 2 as Liang. It's a little nuance there. Here they're showing you with 117, it's Yi Bai, Yi Shi Qi. It's not just Yi Bai 100 and Shi Qi. They put a Yi, they named that 1 in there. And then they challenge you to to read these numbers from the smaller ones to the larger ones. Try and figure out what those are as you're learning the numbers in this lesson. Here they're asking you to look at the Hanzi and write how many strokes it is. So this one, Qi, has 1, 2 strokes. This one has Yi, our San, has 3 strokes, and so on. How many strokes does it take to write these characters? This one, of course, has the most. It has 9 strokes in it. And here they're showing you each stroke has a particular name in Chinese. We don't emphasize memorizing those names, but you can learn those if you would like. And then again, they're asking you to name the strokes and how you put these characters together. Again, we don't emphasize that you actually need to know how to say that in Chinese. Now, the second part of the lesson 1 has some, let's go back, has pronouns. So, ni is you, wo is I, de with these makes it possessive, so nida is yours, woda is mine, and pengyou together means friend. Lastly, hao means good, so ni shi woda hao pengyou. They're saying you are my good friend. In class, when we practice this, we have students go down around the room and name every student in the class. They just put down their English name and say, For example, Jack 是我的好朋友. Josh 是我的好朋友. Sarah 是我的好朋友. And they practice this sentence. And notice the period is a circle at the end. Here again, they're going over another poem. And there is an audio recording of this. And you can find this in your book. And they do the numbers and then end it with 你是我的好朋友 again. And then you can do it without the pinyin or English. So it's good practice pronunciation. Here they're working on vowels and consonants. And we pretty much emphasize those as we learn the words. And tonal changes. Again, we work on tones as we go in context, not so much. We don't emphasize that a whole lot in the beginning because it will come with acquisition. The more you hear Chinese correctly spoken and imitate that, you will acquire good pronunciation. And here again, they're going over some of the vowels and how they're used in words, but we haven't had those words yet, so we're not going to emphasize those. We haven't had these words either, nor these. Here they're looking at character components. So you've had how. How is two parts. Shi has a top and a bottom, but you haven't had these other characters, so we're not going to go over those. And again, they're talking about the different strokes and where they're found in characters. Here, the components, but we haven't had these, so we're not going to emphasize those. Here's a challenge. Can you work on how you would say these numbers? You can also use Google Translate. If you put 3,876 in letters in English on Google Translate, it will tell you the number will come up and you can play it and it will read it back to you what is the correct number. So that's a good way to find out what the answers are there. Finally, 谢谢 is thank you. So thank you for listening.